Hello and welcome tonight. Time to change the narrative of the Nigerian story. The president challenges members of his cabinet and top management of the civil service as a three-day ministerial retreat draws to a close in Abuja. France to return $150 million looted from the nation's treasury by former head of state, General Sani Abacha. NLC and TUC demands redeployment of Commissioner of Police in Imo State by the federal government or risk a nationwide industrial action following the brutalization of NLC President Joe Ajero in the state. And INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu restates security concerns ahead of off-cycle elections in Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi states. No cause for worry. Inspector General of Police promises effective policing during exercise.
On Business News tonight, House of Representatives set to conduct comprehensive audit of petroleum subsidy regime in efforts to recover $20 billion revenue from the petroleum sector.
On Sports News tonight, European football governing body UEFA opposed a €500,000 fine on Spanish champions Barcelona for breach of their financial control rules.
And from Abuja, Kogi State government vows to prioritize access to quality healthcare for residents as a fundamental human right as Governor Yahaya Bello takes stock of his administration's efforts.
And in international news from London, the US's top diplomat is meeting Benjamin Netanyahu, seeking concrete steps to minimize harm to civilians in Gaza.
$150 million, that's the amount looted by former Nigerian military leader General Sani Abacha, which the presidency says France is set to return to the country. This was made known in a statement today by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Adjuri Ngalale, following a meeting by the president with the Minister of Europe and Foreign Affairs of France, Catherine Colonna. The statement adds that during the meeting, President Bola Tinubu hailed the strengthening of bilateral relations between Nigeria and France, noting that this progress followed his visit to Paris after his inauguration, while emphasizing the need to reinforce collaboration on both political and economic fronts. The president welcomed the growing cooperation between the two countries in areas such as climate change, economic integration, education, and culture. Thank you. Meanwhile, Nigeria and France have signed an agreement worth about $600 million under the Investment in Digital and Creative Enterprise (IDICE) in Abuja. The purpose of the program, which is an initiative of the federal government of Nigeria, is aimed at promoting entrepreneurship and innovation in the digital technology and creative industry. Both the French Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ms. Catherine Colonna, and the Minister of Communication and Digital Economy, Mr. Bosun Tijani, signed the deal in the nation's capital.
Overall, the IDICE program is expected to include about 2 million years. Actually, I think it's close to 3 million. So let's switch it to 3 million in the training sessions. And I'm very pleased to have learned and stressed before you that 40% of these young ones will be women. Believe in women empowerment. We all have to. And to create 65,000 startups is just amazing. 150,000 direct jobs in technology and creative industry sectors, and approximately 1.3 million indirect jobs.
I would like to express my gratitude to all the financiers of this crucial project, the French Development Agencies, contribution alongside support from the Africa Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, and the Bank of Industry. It represents a significant step towards realizing the potential of IDICE. Your unwavering commitment is a testament to the immense potential of this sector to drive economic growth and sustainable development in Nigeria. I'm particularly delighted to welcome Ms. Catherine Colonna, the France Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs, who officially launched France's contribution of 100 million euros, equivalent of $116 million, to the IDICE program. This collaboration highlights our shared commitment to youth development and the growth of cultural and creative industry.
It's time to walk the talk. That's what the president appears to be telling members of his cabinet at the end of a 3-day retreat of the ministers and top management staff of the civil service. President Bola Tinubu has challenged the officials at the event, which took place in the State House Conference Center, Abuja, to change the narrative of Nigeria and bring economic prosperity to the country. He also obtained a promise from them that they would work as a team for Nigerians. Our State House correspondent, Larry Lasisi, reports.
It's the last day of the 3-day cabinet retreat for ministers, permanent secretaries and other government officials taking place at the State House Conference Center, Abuja. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation gives the key takeaways from the presentations and technical sessions.
It's recommended that we raise the approval threshold for public procurement and encourage open bidding for transparency, to develop a 10-year plan to increase power generation capacity in line with the country's needs.
The government has made clear its plan to put in place a result delivery unit. The head of the unit outlines the unit's objectives.
There's also the Presidential Delivery Tracker. This is a mobile app that enables third-party monitoring by allowing citizens to monitor and report on key projects of ministries as delivered in their deliverables. This is an application that fosters citizen engagement.
Addressing the gathering, the president raises questions on issues discussed during the sessions.
Is the responsibility of the permanent secretary clear in partnership with the commissioner? Is it clear? Are we one family?
He makes clear the objective for his cabinet to change the narrative of Nigeria and ensure economic prosperity.
We have a responsibility to our country to make sure we change completely the narrative about Nigeria. There's nothing you can do successfully without good health care, reduction in poverty. Like I said before, poverty is not a shameful thing, but it's not acceptable. Are we going to dig our people out of it? If you look at your background, no matter how wealthy you are today, there's a trace of poverty in it. So it's left for you and I to navigate this ship out of poverty.
Then comes the call for a commitment.
We promise Nigerians that we are going to work for them. Is that true? Let us stand up and say, we are Nigerians. You are a Nigerian. We are Nigerian. God bless you.
Some of the participants share their experiences.
Well, my personal takeaway, 2 things. Number 1, Nigeria first, Nigeria second, Nigeria third, Nigeria always.
We also learned how the government works in terms of the security agencies and the financial institutions, their workings, the do's and don'ts in office.
This is not the first time that a ministerial retreat will be held, elaborate plans outlined, or performance bond signed. But What many Nigerians will expect this time is that these measures will translate into policy implementation and a better life for all. From the presidential villa, Lanre Lasese, Channels Television News.
Let's head to the fight against oil theft. The Joint Task Force, JTF Operation Delta Safe, OPDS, has arrested a vessel, MV Mother Mary, with 300,000 litres of illegally refined AGO, otherwise known as diesel, in River State. According to the component commander who represented the OPDS commander, the vessel, which was used as storage for the illegal product, was arrested with 2 suspects on board. He said the 2 arrested suspects will be handed over to appropriate authorities for possible prosecution. And now to the aftermath of yesterday's encounter between Labour leader Mr. Joe Ajaero and the police in Imo State. The Nigeria Labour Congress and Trade Union Congress have given the federal government till Wednesday, November the 8th, to redeploy the Commissioner of Police in Imo State or risk a nationwide industrial action. The union leaders are also calling for the arrest and prosecution of all those involved in the brutalization of the NLC president.
The president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC, Mr. Joe Ajaero, is visibly absent as Labour leaders from the NLC and the Trade Union Congress, TUC, addressed this news conference in Abuja.
Of the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, NLC.
The attack on the NLC president on Wednesday in Imo State is the crux of the news conference, as workers' unions suspect the police and the state government for masterminding the incident.
Our leader, Comrade Joe Ajaero, was blindfolded, beaten to a pulp, brutalized, humiliated and violated by the police personnel and taken to unknown destination. Hoodlums sent by the state governor have stationed themselves around the streets, including the secretariat, where while beating up workers who had reported at the secretariat and dispensing them of their personal items, including money and phones and laptops.
Against the backdrop of the accusations, the workers' union leaders gave a 5-day ultimatum to the federal government.
We further resolve that in the event the government failed to comply with any or all the conditions above stated, NLC, TUC, and their affiliates will no longer guarantee industrial peace and harmony in Nigeria, beginning Wednesday, 8th of November 2023, while a joint National Executive Council, NEC, meeting of the 2 labor centers will meet to decide the next course of action.
However, the Imo State Commission of Information, who spoke on our political program, Lunchtime Politics, denies the allegations, while the state governor distanced himself from the incident.
The truth is that Ajaero, as somebody from Imo, has a political agenda, hidden political agenda. And unfortunately and sadly, he is using the labor union to achieve that agenda. And they're just flowing with him.
What has happened is this ugly coincidence that the national president of the Nigerian Labour Congress is from Imo State and has not been able to demarcate the difference between being a national leader of an organization and then an interested party in local politics. I don't interfere with labor matters.
The Imo State Police on Thursday also explained their side of the story in the press release, which reads in part, I quote, "It is pertinent to state that the NLC president was in Owerri as part of arrangement of the Congress to mobilize workers for a mega protest. In the course of their planning, it was reported that some essential facilities, particularly the airport, will be locked down. This led to scuffles, heated arguments, and an eventual attack on the president by a mob. Upon receiving this report, the Imo Police Command swiftly deployed police operatives to the scene, where the officer in charge exercised his operational discretion by taking the NLC president into protective custody at the State Command headquarters." End of quote. It will take the intervention of the federal government to prevent the dispute in Imo State from degenerating into national industrial crisis.
In part 2, after the break, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu restates security concerns ahead of off-cycle elections in Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi states. No cause for worry. Inspector General of Police promises effective policing during exercise. That's in a moment. Do join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10, coming to you live from Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Time to change the narrative of the Nigerian story. The president challenges members of his cabinet and top management of the civil service as the 3-day ministerial retreat draws to a close in Abuja. France to return $150 million looted from the nation's treasury by former head of state General Sani Abacha. NLC and TUC demands redeployment of the Commissioner of Police in Imo State by the federal government or risk a nationwide industrial action following the brutalization of NLC President Joe Ajero in the state. And INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu restates security concerns ahead of off-cycle elections in Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi states. No cause for worry. Inspector General of Police promises effective policing during exercise. Into politics in Kogi State, where the Deputy Governor of Kogi State, Mr. Edward Onoja, says the defection of key political actors in Olamaboro local government area of the state to the ruling All Progressives Congress is an indication that the party is set to win the November 11th governorship election. Mr. Onoja stated this in the area when he received a former governorship aspirant in the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Joseph Eriko, and his supporters ahead of the elections.
It's the formal reception for a former governorship aspirant in the People's Democratic Party, Mr. Joseph Eriko, and his supporters to the All Progressives Congress, APC, in Olamboro local government area of Kogi State. The Deputy Governor of Kogi State, Mr. Edward Onoja, who received the decampees on behalf of the Governor, Mr. Yahaya Bello, admonished party supporters to go about campaigning peacefully, as key political actors in the state have thrown their weight behind the party's candidates.
Olamaboro, you will help me and all of us in APC that have been consistent in winning for APC to ensure that we win for APC. So that we can shut the mouth of the naysayers. I am begging. And that is why I have been begging my brother. And he has agreed frontally and fully to join the APC.
The man who leads his supporters to the party gives his reasons for joining the All Progressives Congress.
I have my structure all over the country, most especially the 21 local government of our own state. And I am going to mobilize them for APC. I appreciate the presence of the West, the Central, and my brothers from Ampa, my boys from the Kogi. You can see them. Look behind, you can see my boys. So wherever I am safe and protected.
The Deputy Governor also urged others who wish to join the party to come on board, as equal opportunities are available to all who work for the success of the party and the forthcoming elections.
Well, staying with the off-cycle polls, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has been speaking on the challenges in conducting elections in the 3 states of Imo, Bayelsa and Kogi, where off-cycle governorship elections will be holding November the 11th. The INEC chairman says security challenges and topography are factors that make it difficult to conduct elections in the 3 states. He was speaking in Owerri, the Imo State capital, during a meeting with members of Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security.
Last week, the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security at the national level had a meeting in Abuja. I chair XS and the National Security Advisor is the co-chairman. So we thought that the first thing we should do on this leg of the readiness assessment is to meet with the security agencies. Election is a multi-stakeholder responsibility. Our responsibility is to conduct elections. The responsibility of the security agencies is to secure the environment for us to deploy personnel and materials for the election. So it's very important that we meet with the security agencies. At the end of our meeting at the national level, the Inspector General of Police and the Chief of Defense Staff addressed the media and assurances of the commitment of the security agencies to protecting the process to ensure free, fair, and credible elections.
Meanwhile, at another meeting with stakeholders in Owerri, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has urged all eligible voters to come out and exercise their civic responsibility. According to the IGP, a level playing ground will be given to all contestants and political parties, adding that enough police personnel have been mobilized to provide adequate security before, during, and after the polls.
If you observe, you have seen deployment of security agents everywhere. The security men that you see are here to protect you. Nobody should be intimidated with the presence of security officers. I believe that the presence of these security officers will give you confidence to come out and vote on the day of election.
To legal matters, 3 suspects have been arraigned at the Plateau State High Court in Jos on a 4-count charge in relation to allegations of organ theft. The suspects identified as Noah Kekere, owner of Myrna Clinic and Maternity, a medical doctor, Philip Wede Dachong, and a staff of the clinic, Yusuf Abdullahi, were arraigned before Justice Gedelia Mfonyon. The Plateau State government arraigned the suspects for allegedly harvesting an organ of Wonkane Kamaru while undergoing treatment at the clinic. Among the charges are criminal conspiracy, attempted culpable homicide, causing grievous hurt, and dealing in human parts. The suspects pleaded not guilty to the charges. The case has been adjourned till November the 18th and 19th for determination of the suspects' bail application. Meanwhile, the suspects have been remanded at the Jos Correctional Facility. In another legal matter, the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja today ordered the arrest of the chairman CEO of Ibeto Energy Development Company, Mr. Cletus Ibeto, for allegedly refusing to appear in court to stand trial on allegations bordering on a 4.8 billion naira fraud. Justice Ismail Ijelu issued the bench warrant for his arrest after a motion moved by the Council to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Rotimi Jacobs, who informed the judge that the defendant had flagrantly failed and refused to appear in court despite repeated hearing notices served on him. Now, the EFCC had charged the defendant alongside his companies, Ibeto Energy Development Company and Odo Holdings Limited, over an alleged 4.8 billion naira fraud. The defendant's arraignments were stalled on September the 28th and October 5th due to his failure to appear, although he was represented by his lawyers. On the 2 occasions, his lawyer, Onyechi Ikpeazu, had informed the judge that his client was absent due to ill health and promised to produce him in court today. When the matter was called, Mr. Ibeto was represented by another counsel, Dada Woshika, who also told the judge that the defendant was sick and could not attend the court. This prompted the EFCC counsel to ask the court to issue a bench warrant for the arrest of the businessman, which was granted by the court. Still to come on the news at 10. House of Representatives set to conduct comprehensive audit of petrol subsidy regime, targets recovery of $20 billion revenue from the petroleum sector. That's on Business News. Do join us again. We head to Education Matters. The chairman of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, has emphasized the contributions of the youth population in providing solutions to Nigeria's crisis. According to him, if the youth are educated, healthy, productive, there's no limit to how far the nation will go. Dr. Momo stated this while delivering the 18th Convocation lecture of Bowen University in Iwo, Osun State.
College of Health Sciences, the Provost, College of Agriculture, Engineering and Sciences.
It's the 18th Convocation lecture of the Iwo-based Bowen University, and gathered in this hall are the Vice-Chancellor of the university, other top management staff of the school, the guest lecturer and chairman of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, as well as the graduating students.
A distinguished personality.
But before the lecturer delves into his notes, the university's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Jonathan Babalola, appreciates the guest speaker and appeals to the audience, especially the students, to pay attention to the lecture, which he believes will change many lives.
Our students who are here, especially the people from communication, mass communication, communication and language arts, I want you to listen very well. And I do hope that we are going to have a very stimulating time in Jesus' name.
Dwelling on the theme of the lecture, deconstructing the Nigerian conundrum as a panacea for national cohesion and transformation, Dr. Momo notes that in dealing with Nigerian conundrum, politicians need to imbibe the code of ethics by being honest, peace-loving, patient, in addition to not being volatile and slothful.
I dare say that rivalry between the ethnic groups has made it impossible for leaders of high moral standing to emerge. Leaders who live above boards, who exude impeccable and predictable character, and who are ready to offer themselves for the development of the nation are not allowed to emerge. And if they are allowed, only just few good men and good women. At each election, the emphasis has always been on where the candidates come from, rather than on the right candidates for the election.
On the political front, he advocates for a shift in the way governmental affairs are handled by the gladiators.
I'd like to see a reversal of our present impasse, where politics is practiced as a cost-benefit affair or as a profit and loss process, where there are no options to victory, and where the pride of participation is under-glorified, where ethics, values, and virtues are diminished for materialism, for prebendal rapacity, and at the expense of the public good, where overt proclamation of morality is far distant from the covert reality of dishonesty, where our institutions are weakened, and where individuals are prioritized, lionized, and deified at the expense of the more structural and more enduring establishments.
But above all other things, Dr. Momo wants the challenges of corruption, looting of funds, which he says have led to unemployment and mass poverty, to be addressed headlong.
Perhaps it is time for our politicians to imbibe the code of ethics for Baptist pastors by exalting Christ, not self. Being honest, not exaggerating or over-promising. Peace-loving, not contentious. Patient, not volatile. Diligent, not slothful. And when necessary, to report conflicts of self-interest and seek counsel. We have to rebuild our philosophy to increase our belief in the collective, the common good. We need a greater sense of patriotism, a better disposition for nationalism, and an increased penchant for thinking about the welfare and prosperity of the community. The people should be our priority. The people should be our priority. I am convinced that we can move to a level where public interest becomes better interest if a greater number of our leaders work in that direction, and if you join them to work in that direction. Because just 2, 3, or 4 leaders and followers can make a difference.
As the lecture ends and the guest lecturer departs, it is hoped that the students who will be graduating soon have learned some lessons that will stand them in good stead as they step into the larger world.
And from Iwo, Osun State, we head to Abuja for more stories where Victor is waiting. Hi, Victor.
Hello, Millicent. Indeed, I am waiting. Welcome to the nation's capital. And we move from the education sector to health matters in Kogi State, where Governor Yahaya Bello has begun to conduct an assessment of his administration's efforts in different segments of the state, even as it begins to wind down activities. Now, according to the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Zachary Usman, the administration did not cut back in its efforts to provide quality healthcare services in the last 8 years. This, he says, has placed Kogi State among the best in the provision of affordable healthcare services in the country.
This is the state of healthcare delivery in Kogi State. With an annual 16% budgetary allocation, which is considered the highest in the history of the state, the narrative changed. The Commissioner for Health is reviewing the healthcare situation in the state. According to his assessment, before now, healthcare facilities in Kogi State were in a state of severe disrepair and neglect. The residents faced immense challenges in accessing quality healthcare services.
There are also 3 new hospitals springing up, one in Jegu on your way to Abuja, another one in Ajaokuta local government, in a place known as Badoko, and then there is a massive expansion at the General Hospital in Isonlu. All these hospitals are built from scratch to finish. They are completed, fantastic architectural masterpieces, and all of them are equipped.
Despite experiencing its own share of professionals leaving the state, a phenomenon commonly known as brain drain, the state has managed to maintain a high standard of healthcare delivery even in the face of the departure of some of its healthcare workforce.
Before the hospital was remodeled, the structures were dilapidating, the place was looking not too good. But with the intervention of His Excellency in remodeling the hospital, in virtually almost rebuilding the hospital.
Here is a hospital that I chose to bring my children. I've been operating here for long because their services are okay.
Upon commencing his second term in office, the governor of Kogi State inaugurated a state health insurance scheme with the primary objective of ensuring that every resident within the state has access to high-quality healthcare services.
Access to quality and affordable healthcare is a fundamental human right. As leaders of the new direction administration, which prioritizes health as a core theme of our blueprint, I was determined to secure that right.
The increased funding has made a significant impact as it has effectively eliminated the burdensome out-of-pocket expenses previously incurred by individuals seeking Medicare. This substantial investment in healthcare has impacted the overall health and financial security of the state's populace.
Now, inspiring and encouraging women in Nigeria remained the focus on the second and final day of the 22nd Women in Management, Business and Public Service Conference in Lagos. The participants lauded the initiative as a catalyst for change and progress in their various fields of endeavor.
The conversation continues in the same direction on the second and final day of the 22nd WIMBIZ conference, aimed at inspiring women under the theme Mission Impossible Thrive.
As she clearly stated, the WIMBIZ conference is not just a conference.
Delivered by the WIMBIZ Executive Director, setting the tone for the day.
In the community of WIMBIZ, there are so many people over the past 22 years that have planted, that have watered, that have contributed in one way or the other, that have sown, some have labored with tears, with laughter, and so many things. But at the end of the day, I always say that WIMBIZ exists and is excellent because we are a community of people that come and go. And one of the things I think we have not done as excellently as I think we should is we have not told our stories the way that they should be. But the truth of the matter is that our story is in the seed that each and every one of you carry.
Dynamic breakout sessions that address pertinent topics relating to women strike a chord with the audience.
I had a restlessness inside of me, and time was coming to move from just success to significance. But it always sounds like it's success to significance, one bridge to another. So what are the challenges? First of all, is defining the what. What are you going to be doing as you talk about transition?
We don't tell our inheritors that they're going to be inheritors. We don't communicate to our inheritors that they're going to be owners. We allow them to get entitlement. It's going to be mine. They don't know how it was built. They don't know how it started. Because sometimes while you're doing it, you're forgetting to tell the story. So now you want your grandchildren to inherit your wealth, but your own children don't even know what that wealth looks like.
For the attendees, the day provides a moment of reflection to internalize the insights garnered over the 2 days.
I use it like a scorecard. What am I doing right? What are the things I need to do to continue to improve myself? What are things I need to stop doing? What are things that don't add value to me? So, totality of everything is why I'm here again for the WIMBIZ conference.
I am blown away. It has helped me to understand that everything I need to be, everything I wish to be, is possible because I am possible and I'm thriving. And I've always been doing the conferences online, but this time around I just said I wanted to be on site and witness and experience the great network of amazing ladies that have walked the paths and ladies that have done amazing things in different industries and learn from them.
At the end of the 2-day conference, the prevailing sentiment was one of renewed purpose and resolve as attendees are left invigorated and armed with fresh knowledge to not only navigate but also excel in their respective fields.
In other stories, the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure, NASENI, has announced the signing of a memorandum of understanding worth $2 billion, with others committing to invest about $4 billion on the sidelines of the Belt and Road Initiative Forum in China. Speaking during a press conference in Abuja, the Executive Vice Chairman of NASENI, Mr. Khalil Salisu, explains that the agency intends to commercialize all its research through technology transfer.
Over the years, the National Agency for Science and Engineering Infrastructure has come up with technological research, which was later developed into prototypes and inventions to solve local solutions in the country.
Upon assuming my...
Up next for the agency, according to the Executive Vice Chairman, Mr. Khalil Salisu, is the commercialization of these inventions for which he has set a target.
There has been a lot of wonderful research, over 150 products in prototypes. However, the commercialization aspect of this, is very little. There will be some products even by the end of the year, but tentatively, we'll say first quarter of 2024, you'll be able to see products in the market.
To further scale up their operations and inventions, especially with a focus on technology transfer, Mr. Salisu says the agency has entered into a $2 billion agreement with foreign investors and local partners, with more in the offing.
Recently, we just came back, from China with the Vice President from the Belt Forum, where we signed a $2 billion partnership MOU, for technology transfer into Nigeria, which is something we're able to achieve in just 5 weeks of operations. At the same forum, we received a lot of partners that provided letter of intent to partner with us to invest in the country of an amount worth $4 billion.
He also speaks on areas that investors have shown interest to partner with the agency.
The areas that we've received interest are around unmanned aerial vehicle, electric vehicle also, around agricultural equipment, around electronics and electrical equipment, and many, many, many other. And this has sent, a signal, to the world and potential partners. Everyone is looking at Africa. There is no better time than now. We have resources in abundance, and we have to add value in whatever, we are doing.
NASENI is mandated to design and conduct developmental work in the areas of manufacturing and the proliferation of technologies developed either within or outside of its centers, including patents obtained.
And that's it from the nation's capital. We head back to Lagos, where we have more stories from the world of business.
Business news: an audit will soon be conducted by the House of Representatives as lawmakers dig into years of petroleum subsidy payments in the hope of recovering $20 billion in revenue. The House will collaborate with relevant committees in the upstream, mainstream, gas and petroleum sectors to achieve specific objectives such as those that benefited from the payments while prioritizing early remittance of federal government revenues. Chairman of the House Committee on Petroleum Resources says the House will also carry out a comprehensive review of the Petroleum Industry Act. Businesses came together under one roof today as the 37th edition of the Lagos International Trade Fair kicked off at the Tafawa Balewa Square in Nigeria's commercial capital. The 10-day trading and exhibition event hosted by the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry has already attracted various businesses and industrial brand names around the world. Thousands of visitors are expected to show up to forge new partnerships, explore opportunities, and drive growth for the Lagos state economy. Let's take a look at the domestic stock market, which made a moderate but quick rebound from the impacts of profit taken recorded in the previous session as it ends the week with 75.4 billion naira gain in value. Will Ibong tells us more.
Welcome to the Stock Market Report. Now, it's very tricky when investors get into the profit-taking frenzy and a slowdown keeps the index in marginal balance, and you can't tell which direction it may go. But today, the all-share index was able to make a swing to positive territory, up 0.22% from its negative marginal trade at intraday. Airtel Africa, Dangote Sugar, Flour Mills were making all the moves today. Airtel Africa gaining for the third day in a row. However, the market saw lower turnover, except for value, which gained about 50%. But let's look at the stocks that pulled the most volume today. Now, for Japan Gold, profit-taking has set in, and that moved it to second place on the top trade leaderboard, leaving the first position to Fidelity Bank, which saw significant buy interest today. Now it's definitely time, however, to cash in on Japan Gold. The bulls are back in charge. Investors can keep smiling to the bank as we enjoy the 70K high. It's Will Ibong back and signing out.
That's Business News Tonight. Millicent, back to you.
Thanks, Jakar. And there'll be no temporary ceasefire, says Israel's Prime Minister. Simon Pusu has more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The US's top diplomat is meeting Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, seeking concrete steps to minimize harm to civilians in Gaza. Antony Blinken here arriving in Tel Aviv before he was pictured with Benjamin Netanyahu. It as the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says more than 9,000 people have now been killed in the Strip since the 7th of October. There has been condemnation of civilian deaths in Gaza caused by Israeli attacks. Here, people in a school turned shelter in northern Gaza running for cover from an explosion.
Focus as well on steps that need to be taken to protect civilians who are in a crossfire of Hamas's making. And we want to look at concrete steps that can be taken to better protect them. We've seen in recent days Palestinian civilians continuing to bear the brunt of this action, and it's important that the United States is committed to making sure everything possible is done to protect civilians.
Ukraine's interior minister says Russia has bombarded 118 Ukrainian towns and villages within 24 hours, more than on any other day this year. He said 10 of Ukraine's 27 regions had come under attack and the onslaught had caused deaths and injuries. Many of the communities hit were near the front lines in the east and south. Russia has for weeks trained much of its military firepower on Avdiivka, a strategically significant town in the eastern region of Donetsk. Sam Bankman-Fried, who once ran one of the world's biggest cryptocurrency exchanges, has been found guilty of fraud and money laundering at the end of a month-long trial in New York.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
The jury delivered its verdict after less than 5 hours of deliberations. It concludes a stunning fall from grace for the 31-year-old former billionaire and one of the most public faces of the crypto industry. Bankman-Fried was arrested last year after his firm FTX went bankrupt. He now faces decades in prison.
Sam Bankman-Fried perpetrated one of the biggest financial frauds in American history, a multi-billion-dollar scheme designed to make him the king of crypto. But here's the thing. The cryptocurrency industry might be new. The players like Sam Bankman-Fried might be new. But this kind of fraud, this kind of corruption is as old as time, and we have no patience for it.
Court documents say an Australian woman charged with murdering 3 people in a suspected mushroom poisoning case is also accused of trying to murder her ex-partner on 4 occasions. 49-year-old Erin Patterson was charged with 3 counts of murder and 5 of attempted murder on Thursday. The murder charges relate to a family lunch she hosted in July at her home in the town of Leongatha in Victoria. Ms. Patterson continues to maintain her innocence. The Spanish Coast Guard has rescued 114 migrants off the Canary Islands and brought them to Argueneguin port in the island of Gran Canaria. A wooden boat, which was spotted 8 miles south of Gran Canaria, was carrying migrants of sub-Saharan origin. A total of 30,705 migrants have now reached the Canary Islands in the Atlantic in the first 10 months of this year, nearing a full-year record of 2006 data from Spain's Interior Ministry. Authorities in the Indian capital, Delhi, have shut all primary schools for 2 days amid worsening levels of air pollution. Scientists say air quality in the city dropped to severe levels for the first time this season on Thursday. It is expected to deteriorate further in the next 2 weeks. Delhi's Environment Minister has called an emergency meeting to review the situation. The capital is one of the world's most polluted cities. And Britain's Royal Mint has unveiled a new production of coins inspired by King Charles's passion for nature. New designs will feature on 8 new coins from 1 pence to £2, and all of them featuring images of flora or fauna, including a dormouse and an oak tree leaf. The new 50p coin, which features an Atlantic salmon, will be the first to enter circulation in November. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. The Nigeria Premier Football League have fined Heartland FC of Owerri ₦1 million for breaching the framework and rules of the game following the pitch encroachment of their players and officials to protest the decision by match officials during their games against Rivers United on Wednesday. Heartland will also play their next home match at the Dan Anya Stadium in Owerri behind closed doors. UEFA has dismissed an appeal by Barcelona against a €500,000 fine for breaches of financial fair play regulations. UEFA's Club Financial Control Board says in a statement that the Catalan club wrongly reported profit on the disposal of intangible assets in the financial year 2022. Barcelona were initially fined by UEFA in July, but appealed against it. World number 1 Novak Djokovic has progressed to the semi-finals of the Paris Masters after beating Denmark's Holger Rune in a keenly contested encounter. Novak Djokovic edged past Rune 7-5, 6-7, 6-4 to book his place in the last 4. The Serbian is on course for his record-extending 7th Paris Single Masters. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Vincent.
Thank you, Chris. And the main news again. President Bola Tinubu today challenged members of his cabinet and top management staff of the civil service to change the narrative of the Nigerian story. President Tinubu said this at the closing ceremony of the 3-day ministerial retreat in Abuja. And that's news at 10 tonight. May thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Have a good night and stay safe.